Well, breathe.
Yeah, okay.
Second rule,
Breathe.
breathe. Third rule, breathe. Fourth rule,
Breathe.
And fifth rule
I got that one.
is not breathe. Anybody?
I don't have it.
Before I show you, anybody?
Don't
Right?
panic. Yeah.
Oh,
Am I right? Don't
Yeah.
panic.
There you go.
Well, my first scuba diving adventure, the first time out in a class, I broke all of these rules. I was down at the bottom. They said, take off your mask, like you have to during checkout time. Take off your mask and clear it. And just that cold water on my face just sent me into a panic. Remember, I was in Portage, Wisconsin. I wasn't out here in nice water, or I wasn't in warm water. I was in Portage, Wisconsin. When you get to the bottom, it's like chocolate pudding. So all the mud comes up. And I just freaked out and ran. I swam as fast as I could to the surface. Another major rule you're not supposed to do. I held my breath, I spit my regulator out, and I swam to the surface. My instructor was holding my feet so I wouldn't, kill myself by getting an embolism. And it was just a big failure. Well, what I learned then at a pretty early age was that just because something's difficult, it doesn't mean you shouldn't keep trying it. So my first piece of advice is don't be afraid to try something new and difficult. Anything underwater was very new and difficult for me. The other thing I want to tell you that during this presentation, whenever you see an asterisk, there's homework coming. So pay attention to those. Well, from a very early age, I knew I wanted to be a marine biologist. So I didn't know how difficult it was going to be, but I knew I liked whales and dolphins, and I knew I wanted to be a marine biologist. Why not? We need to be with these creatures. So from a very early age, I learned that I needed to work hard in order to not just survive, but thrive, because my ambitions were far beyond nice Jewish girl from Wisconsin. So I wanted to really thrive in life. I wanted to do something different and new and exciting and be a marine biologist. Well, my second piece of advice, and I hope everyone notices the asterisk, so pay attention. So again, there's homework. My second piece of advice is focus on what you can change, not what you cannot change. Well, I couldn't change, that I failed the first time out. What I could do is go back to the pool and try again. And I couldn't change that I'm from Wisconsin, but I could change where I lived. So I moved out to California to be a marine biologist, to study whales, because obviously there's no whales in Lake Michigan. Now another obstacle, let me get to that a second. So I went to University of Wisconsin for undergrad, and then I moved out here to study whales in grad school. During grad school, one thing I discovered was that I get seasick. Another major obstacle for a marine biologist. Again, what Mateo said, you have to be on a boat. Well, I couldn't work on a boat when I get seasick. So that got me into teaching. And teaching, especially at the college level, you have a lot of freedom, was great because you could really, you could use whales as an example for anything. You're talking about the respiratory system when whales breathe, use whales. So I liked being a teacher because you could have that freedom and I could combine things. I started a local chapter of a whale conservation group. And basically my career was going really well. So I was thriving in my career. Then in April of 2006, really out of the blue, I started getting dizzy and nauseous. I called my doctor, they said, don't worry about it, it's vertigo, it'll go away. And next month, I was still getting dizzy and nauseous, so then I started throwing up, so I was getting sicker. Doctor still said, it's vertigo, you'll be fine, go away, it'll go away. June, guess what, still getting sicker. Planning summer events, but still getting sicker. Finally, in July, and this is July 1st of 2006, I bugged my doctor enough for them to send me to a specialist. The specialist did a simple hearing test and said, it's probably not this, but I'm going to send you for an MRI to rule this out. So I went for an MRI, and I remember this very clearly. On I remember so clearly, but I was looking at my notes. July 5th at 4 p.m., I went for the MRI. Before the MRI, they said it'll take about an hour. When you're done, go home. We'll call you in a couple of days with the results. Right after the MRI, they said, wait here. We're going to print the films and you're going to take them with you. Well, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to know something's going on when they change their direction like that. The next morning, my doctor called me and said, Houston, we have a problem, come on in. So I went back in, and they wanted to see me right away. Well, even I have you looking at the films, I could see this anomaly. Do you guys see it? Look very closely. It's a picture right of my head. See that big white golf ball? That big white golf ball is a brain tumor, so it's not supposed to be there. So it was a pretty big tumor. And what they said is that they had, the only option really was to take it out. Now, this type of tumor is not malignant, and they even said the word, if you have to have a brain tumor, this is the one to have, because it has a really good prognosis. It's a simple little operation, and they called it routine. Well, I'm sure that was routine. Now, this routine surgery was going to be 13 hours. I was supposed to spend 5 to 10 days in the hospital, and again, they called it routine. Well, those 5 to 10 days turned into about 9 months.
Wow.
So between all the hospitals and rehab centers, I was away and in some kind of facility for about 9 months. Thank you. Normally you don't get that with your sleeping, so. The next question, of course, when something like that happens is, what went wrong? This was supposed to be very easy, and I was supposed to be home very soon. Well, theoretically, and this is something that my doctors never actually directly told me, but other doctors told me, that I had a stroke of an artery leading to my cerebellum. And this artery leading to the cerebellum, your cerebellum is what is responsible for your balance and coordination. So the symptoms that I had made sense with this diagnosis. Well, when something like this happens, you have to come up with a whole new set of goals. Obviously, my goals as a kid were to be a marine biologist. I got there, I was a marine biologist. My goals now were to eat, and I couldn't swallow. So in the hospital, the UCSF, there's a whiteboard in every hospital room where nurses write their daily notes. My friends wrote on my whiteboard, eat chocolate ice cream by Monday. Well, Monday wasn't, they never said which Monday, even which year of Mondays. It took about 6 months for me to swallow it all and start eating it all. So again, another piece of advice that I have, and you should all notice the asterisk, is that you have to modify your goals, but stay true to yourself. So in the long scheme of things, I did stay true to myself. I still teach biology, and I still talk a lot about whales and dolphins. But at this time, when I was in the hospital, my goals were very different, because I also have to have short-term goals. And I never thought, as an adult, that my goals would end up being things like, breathing. And breathing was hard for me at that time. Sitting up, standing, walking, eating. And now I go to a class at Skyline almost every day, and the instructor there has me running down the hallways. So yes, run. And it's kind of funny because I run down the hallways. Well, I call it running. He calls it running. You guys might not call it running. But I'm running and saying, oh, this is so fun. This is so fun. And I used to hate running. But I used to run, but I used to hate it. So it's kind of funny that all of a sudden I'm running. So the next question is, what motivated me? I'm lying in a hospital bed, not able to even eat. What motivates me to get better? Well, everybody is motivated by different things, and that's what I want to talk to you a lot about today. One thing that motivates me, obviously, is, there's some reason that I've always loved whales and dolphins. And this picture, which was taken by a friend of mine, is just so awe-inspiring. I mean, I can't look at this without feeling better about whatever is bothering me. So what I want to say to you is that everybody has their own things that you have to, that makes you feel good inside. And those things I'm calling cranberries. And you'll find out in a couple minutes why I call them cranberries. Some other cranberries that I have, how many of you guys recognize this guy?
Steve Young.
Steve Young, yeah. Well, I've liked Steve Young forever. And I got the chance to meet him a few times. My brother-in-law actually played football and went to the Pro Bowl, so I went with and met Steve a few times at the Pro Bowl. And I met him some other places too. That picture actually is at the Pumpkin Festival, where he was the Grand Marshal of the parade. He saw me sitting on the sideline wearing his jersey, and I was in a wheelchair, which makes a great prop if you want to get noticed. But he actually jumped off the truck. I mean, literally jumped off the truck to come over and sign my shirt and say hi. Another really cranberry that I have, and I just want to show you this short video. It's pretty funny. It starts out with just the struggle of me trying to get out of the car, and this is just typically how long it'll take me to get out of a car every day. I'm opening the door, turn around, and there's General Tucky. Always with the same, his face just right there next to mine. It's so funny. And I'm sorry, no matter how bad of a mood you're in, that can't possibly not cheer you up. So again, looking at those cranberries. And again, these cranberries sometimes are things that you have to really look for and learn to accept, and maybe do things that you wouldn't normally do, like just being goofy with your kids the day that we were painting the bathroom and decided to paint our noses, or watching Finding Nemo over and over again. My other dogs at home are good cranberries for me. So when you guys think about what. Sorry, I'm distracted. What kinds of things motivate you? This cranberry, one's going by. But what motivates you? And if you can think about what motivates you, think about your own cranberries to get you out of any kind of funky mood, that will definitely help you strive to thrive and not just survive. Because nobody wants to just, survive through life. You want to thrive through life. Now, another piece of advice I have for you is do the best you can with any kind of resources that you have. We can't all afford to give our kids everything they want, so there's financial resources. I have obviously physical limitations in my resources. There's always resources that you don't have, you kind of wish that you had. Well, instead of wasting time wishing that you had those resources, again, focus on what you can change. So do the best you can with the resources that you do have. And we all have resources. Even if it's just our inner strength, you have that resource. Well, the other thing that I would say to you is to maximize your resources. Well, I've always had dogs. Since I was a little kid, I've had dogs. And I had 2 dogs at home. They were great cranberries. They made me feel really good about things. But in order to maximize that, a few years ago I thought, I should maximize my love of dogs. Really put it to good use. So instead of having 2, cute and cuddly dogs who are great pets, I decided to also get a useful dog. So I got Robin about 1.5 years ago, and he's useful. He opens doors for me. He picks things up for me. He also really encourages people to talk to me. People at work talk to me a lot more since I have him, and it makes me much more comfortable in public. So I go places alone now that I wouldn't have gone to alone before I had him. He goes everywhere with me. We took him to Disneyland. I met Goofy. I mean Pluto. Is that Goofy or Pluto? Goofy. Pluto. He went to a conference with me, and it was funny at this conference. One of the top marine mammal scientists in the world loves dogs. He came up to me every single day just to say hi to Robin. So again, this guy wouldn't have talked to me at all if I didn't have Gromit. So he opens doors for me. He shares up kids at Target. And we took him to the theater where he met the cast at the end and they loved him. Because he was sitting there holding the program. They loved him. Well, to remember all those things that I have for homework, this card, do you guys all have the cards ready? Do you all have these?
Yeah.
Cards are over the table.
Yeah. they're over there. Yeah.
Make sure that everyone has one of these. This has all of that piece of advice that I gave you on the front. And on the back is your homework. So on the back, I want you to think about how you can implement each of these things into your life and write your own strategies for success and for striving to thrive. Now, I told you I would explain the cranberry thing. A few years ago, when I was going through all this in a really tough way, I heard a lot of, God won't give you anything you can't handle, and you're stronger than you think, you can do this. A lot of words of encouragement. Somebody actually said to me, when life throws you lemons, make lemonade. Well, those kinds of things are great to hear, and it gives people something to say. It just pissed me off. I wanted to punch them.
All right.
Life throws you lemons. How do you make lemonade at lemons? Squeeze a lemon into a glass. You don't get lemonade, you get sour lemon juice. Well, a few years ago I was a naturalist on a cruise ship. And one thing that, if you ever go on a cruise, that they charge you for everything extra. Soda, obviously alcohol. The free things on the ship were lemonade and cranberry juice. So my favorite thing became just mixing the two together. So when it came time to write this book, I said, well, when life throws you lemons, you can't make lemonade. Let's make cranberry juice. So cranberries, everybody knows what life's lemons are. Life's lemons are just all of the, either a little small annoying things or the big huge things that are hitting you over the head with a baseball bat. Whereas cranberries are harder to notice. A cranberry can be, you put on a jacket that you haven't worn in a while and you find a $5 bill in the pocket. Ooh. Sometimes you find a quarter in the pocket, and that's better than nothing, right? A 20 is even better. But you just leave little things that happen every day, and you turn on the radio and it's your favorite song. You have to learn to accept those things and recognize those things. So I did write a book, When Life Throws You Lemons, Make Cranberry Juice, and I have some copies here today. Now, before I let you go, I am going to give you some homework. And actually, before I give you the homework, I'd like to take time for questions. Yes.
What other marine mammals do you study and teach about besides the whales? Do you, like the manatee picture was shown earlier?
I teach a class right now. Well, I went one with manatee, so I put that in there.
Oh, okay.
But I teach a class right now online. It's just an honors biology class at Skyline. It's a 1-unit honors class on marine mammals. So I kind of cover everything in that class. But since it's only 1 unit, I try to really hold back from giving them too much work to do. But they have to do a project, and most of them are doing projects on local marine mammals. Since the manatee is not local, it's tough to get them too excited about it. But since I actually, my first big scuba diving trip was to Florida, and there's a river in Florida where manatees gather during the winter. So we went swimming with manatees. Those were exciting, yes.
Is Florida your first experience with an ocean, or had you seen an ocean before being from Wisconsin?
We used to go on vacation, family vacations. So I saw an ocean, but that was the first time I went scuba diving. We went to, I think we went to we went to one of the Florida Keys, and then went to Crystal River to go snorkeling manatees. But no, I hadn't been in the ocean in California since I moved here. The guy didn't really understand how tides worked until I moved here and saw them. But I do know about winter. I know somebody's talking about winter. And yes, that's true. You have to calculate how much time it takes to get to class before your fingers go frostbite. You have to wear everything close, yes.
Maybe you can clear up a sort of argument my wife has been having with police.
Sure, I'd love to.
Your wife taking a long time. No, let's be real quick. We were going through an aero channel, there was a pot of dolphins in front of us, and my wife was clapping her hands, and she's convinced that they kept turning to look at her because of the noise. Do you think that they could hear the noise?
Probably not the noise, and think about the noise of
Or
the
the motion,
boat,
or?
and noise underwater, I mean, probably not the noise, but I would definitely say they're probably curious about people. And they love boats.
Yeah.
They like to bow ride. And that's like them getting a push. It's like surfing for humans. So they definitely like boats. Some species do. They're probably curious about her. I don't know if they heard her clapping. Have you guys seen, I should put, there's a picture that's going the rounds online of a guy on his cell phone. Did you guys see this?
Yeah, I saw that.
A guy on his cell phone with a big whale right in front of him. And he's just so busy on his cell phone. And there's a humpback whale right in front of him. And apparently this whale breached several times. And he never saw it because he was too busy on his cell phone. So that's a lesson not to be on your cell phone too much. Because you might miss the world going around. Yes.
I think I missed that part, but you said before that the operation was supposed to take a stay of 5 to 10 days,
Right.
but then it were 9 months. So what happened? I just didn't get that.
Apparently I had a stroke.
Oh, you had a stroke during the operation?
Well, my surgeon said not during the operation. After, it didn't happen on my watch.
Oh, I see.
But I don't know, I mean, I know that I didn't wake up, and that as I was waking up from the surgery, I couldn't breathe. To me, it's all part of the operation, but.
Sure.
But was anybody here a lawyer? Or a doctor? We do local evidence. But yes, lawyers and doctors, I've had my fill of them. Sorry.
Tough day for you, Shari.
But I do want doctors if I need to, only if I have a clear objective in mind. Or else I go to the gym person who makes me run down the hall. He's the one who's pushing me. Doctors always want to be safe. Yes, your question.
How did your kids kind of fare through all
My
of
kids
this?
at this time were 12 and 8. I'd gotten divorced about a year before, which is actually a good thing. I know some of you are thinking, oh, it's too bad, but no, that was a very good thing. My kids had to go live with him for part of that 9 months, most of 9 months. So it was tough for them. Right now, I mean, they both want to be engineers. They're both using me to get, as part of their college apps. They can't use me if they're not going to actually, put the dish in the dishwasher.
Well, they're
No.
using their resources.
Right,
that
they use
have.
their resources. Well, I gotta get to Stanford so I can be close to my mom, take care of her. Okay? Maybe they'll fall for that, yes.
So where's the best place to go whale watching around here?
Around here, what I really like is, actually right now, gray whales are almost, I've waited a few weeks, and then they'll be coming up north, heading towards Alaska. So you can see them from shore, actually. Sometimes.
Whereabouts? From shore, anywhere, or?
I've seen them from, I've been, has anybody here been on the Pacific up here?
Oh, yeah, okay, got to
Pacific
here.
up here goes about a quarter of a mile out to the ocean. I've actually walked to the end of the pier, looked back towards shore and saw whales
Oh, wow.
in the surf.
Okay.
So if you go, I mean, you have to go a lot though, because they're not always going to be there right when you happen, unless you're with me.
Heading.
I can call them and say, come on.
Got a recommendation for whale watching this Bodega Head. Just by coincidence, probably, they were, as a cliff, so you're maybe
Right.
close to 100 feet up. And the whales were almost directly below,
That's
out maybe 20
Any
yards.
kind of point that juts out, when the gray whales are going north, they're really hugging the shoreline to avoid, killer whales. So any kind of point inland, they have to go around it. So they're going to be closer, you're going to catch them closer to shore. But also like Oceanic Society has whale watching trips. My favorites are actually going out in the fall to the Farallon Islands, where you go into a little bit deeper water and see humpback whales and blue whales. My very favorite is actually going out in Monterey. Because in Monterey, there's there's a canyon right by the shore. So as soon as you leave the dock, you're in deep water. And you can see deep water species, certain types of dolphins, blue whales, humpback whales, killer whales. I've seen all of them.
Now with the seals, they say that the food is moved offshore, that's why a lot of the pups are being abandoned by their mothers or something like
There's
that?
all sorts of reasons.
Okay.
Actually, a couple of my students are doing a project on that right now. But there's some other reasons.
Oh.
Because there's a record number of sea lions being admitted to the Marine Mammal Center. Have you guys ever been?
Yeah,
One,
yeah.
the Marine Mammal Center up in Marin? And they're actually looking for volunteers, so if anybody has any free time. I have 1 minute left, let me get, might be some homework for you, and I hope you guys do this, is to go to my website, sharibookstaff.com, click on my Facebook link, and on my Facebook, you'll see a welcome to you all, and I'd like you to post your ideas for striving to thrive on my Facebook page. And please strive to thrive. And I think I got in within a minute. And I do have some books. I know that Mr. President has some more announcements for you, but I'll be happy to stick around if anybody would like to get a book. And thank you very much.
Good, thank you.